Hi, and welcome to my presentation on classroom assessment. For my final project, I chose to interview Maria Fernandez, who is a first grade teacher at Fairview South Elementary School. I chose to discuss with her some of the standardized testing that Fairview South uses. She said that Fairview students in grades 3 through 8 take the PARCC standardized test. So her students do not take this test yet, but she does do some preparation in her lesson plans that will familiarize them with the overall layout of the test. So some of her overall feelings, just as a brief um, insight into my presentation. She said that as a student, she did not mind taking the standardized test. She did all of the preparations the day before by getting a good night's sleep and eating good breakfast the day of. But she did not think that standardized tests accurately represent students' knowledge. She thinks that standardized tests rather prepare the students on how to take a test rather than on their actual knowledge, which I thought was really interesting. Some of the pros and cons that she discussed was that a pro, to begin, was supposed to test basic test skills and ask grade level questions, whereas a con is that there are various factors that can affect the outcome of these tests, which make the validity of the test overall somewhat questionable. As Maria is a newer teacher in her community at Fairview South Elementary, she wasn't quite sure how her community of parents feel. From what she observed as her as a student teacher with her cooperating teacher last year, she noticed that the parents were fairly open about it, and the school does offer the opt-out option. So she thinks that the results that may affect her or other teachers, which she didn't choose to answer in our interview just because she wasn't sure, but we did discuss how, they're high stakes tests, so the teachers somewhat feel pressured, but she wasn't really sure, how to go much deeper into this question because she hasn't experienced it yet herself. So I chose to ask her how she assesses the students' learning, and she said she uses formative and summative assessments. She said that her students feel okay about it. They don't really understand quite yet, as first graders, the pressure that sometimes comes with taking a test. So she always makes sure that her assessments are normally short quizzes. She also administers various assessments at the beginning, middle, and the end of the school year, which are 8-minute math tests and the Words Their Way, primary inventory, and the Ohio word test. So some of the advantages that she thought about using assessments and some of the frustrations that she also discussed. So we'll start with the advantages. She said that a huge advantage was that assessment is an objective way to measure the student's learning. And a frustration that she had was some of the formatting of the tests, which I actually thought was very interesting. In this course, we talked a lot about how the format of the tests is very important to a student's success. And so she said that overall, the students really like the simple fill in the bubble if they're doing a standardized test and really straightforward. Some of the kinds of assessments, again, that they use are formative and summative assessments, and some of the formal assessments that she also administers are the formal summative assessments at the end of each chapter in both reading and math. She also sometimes uses informal assessments so that way students can get help from their peers or from herself as a teacher. In terms of informal assessments, she uses informal formative assessments on a daily basis to monitor her students' learning. She will then use the data that she collects from these assessments to inform her instruction. She also said that in terms of communicating assessment with the parents, she will grade and record the students' scores. And if she sees an issue with scoring, she will write a note on the test for the parents to review the questions and answers with their child. She also lets her students know this before each test and when handing it back. She really likes open communication with her students, which is another really great thing about her. So overall, I think that in this presentation, this Prezi presentation that I have created, you will see the in-depth answers that Maria gave me, and it overall strengthened my knowledge as to assessment in the classroom. So thank you, and I appreciate your time looking at my presentation.